Well, welcome here. I'm going to talk about how fair trade empowers women today. I'm going to use two examples, one from Pakistan with Bunyad rugs, and one from the Philippines with the recycled paper that's made by women's multi-purpose co-op. We'll start out in Pakistan. Bunyad works with rug makers mostly in northern Pakistan and most recently with people in the far northwest in a little town called Jared. And many of the people are farmers and live on terraced hillsides like this. This is as you're approaching the town of Jared. The river runs right through the middle of town. It's quite remote. It's a 6-hour jeep ride basically from the nearest big city, which is Islamabad, which is the capital of Pakistan. Many of the people, when they cross the river, they cross on little suspension bridges like this. The bridges are handmade, big enough for people and cows and goats, but not for cars or trucks. Typical house near Jared. Most people have a small farm that they work at. But in 2005, there was a huge earthquake, and most of Jared was flattened. Bunyad and Mennonite Central Committee responded to the earthquake. We built some houses, but as Bunyad was talking to some of the families there, they said, we need more than new houses. Many of us have lost our jobs, especially young people. There's no future. Can you come and help us train some people maybe to make rugs, because we know that you do rug making in other parts of Pakistan. So Bunyad, Yusuf and his brother Ashan and Amr and others talked to folks there, and they in the end decided, okay, the people who most need training and jobs are young women. And that it's not typical to provide work for young women like that, but they decided the families want this, so let's go ahead and do that. So they started the training program, built a training facility. This is a house like this, put 6 looms inside, hired a trainer. Halim is actually from near Lahore in eastern Pakistan, and started training young women like Nadia here at the loom. Now, these are folks that had never made rugs before. So this ended up being, the program started in 2015. We received the first rug earlier this year. This is one of the rugs right here, and this is a rug made by Nadia. And if you look on the label, it says it's made by Nadia in the village of Jared, and his supervisor was Halim. A couple of women are working on one of the looms here. This young woman's name is Kanwal. Her niece is beside her. She's learning how to make rugs. This young woman's name is Hajira. She told us that she was saving money from her rug making so that she could go to college, and she was also putting a portion aside for her eventual marriage. Here's some of the young women. So you can see that Kanwal is here, and Hajira and Nadia. Nadia also said she was setting aside money to go to college. She hopes to become a teacher or a nurse at some point. And we're hoping that we can sell lots of her rugs so that she can meet some of those goals and have hope for the future. This is a really big deal in Jared. These are probably the first young women who have received vocational training like this. They will probably be the first young women who go on to higher education because of the income they're earning. It makes a huge difference for them and their families. Fair trade in their case definitely provides hope for the future and makes the village that they live in a better place for everyone. Philippines. We've been working in the Philippines for lots of years, and one of the groups we work with is Women's Multi-Purpose Co-op. This is Shay and her daughter Shania, and she's one of the women who makes these coasters and a variety of other products from recycled paper. Women's Multi-Purpose Co-op is located in Baguio, which is in the central part of the island of Luzon, up in the mountains. Here we're driving up the hill. Many men like Arthur make their living by driving a jeepney, and he was our driver while we were in Baguio visiting Women's Multi-Purpose Co-op. The reason I put this picture in here is Shay's husband sells tickets for jeepneys like this. So if you want to ride on a jeepney, it's like a bus or a taxi. You buy a ticket from Shay's husband, and he tries to earn his living this way. The problem is that it's not very consistent work, and you don't earn a whole lot of money selling 2-peso tickets to jeepney riders. I mean, Shay said he's lucky if he comes home with 100 pesos in his pocket, which is about $1.50. This is Mrs. Epifina Dowie. Her nickname is Epi. She started Women's Multipurpose Co-op about 20 years ago. She's the wife of a Methodist minister. And she wanted to find ways to help women in her congregation earn more money so that they could support their family better, especially aimed at getting a better education for their kids. Mandy and Amber, Mandy's from Asheville, Amber is from the 10,000 Villages store in Richmond. Went to visit Shay at her home, and she was working on some of these placemats like this, and we asked her why it was important for her to have this kind of work, and she said, well, number one, my husband doesn't earn a whole lot of money, and we never had enough money to be able to send our children to school. I want my daughter, Shania, to have a decent education. In order to get a decent education, she needs to go to a private school because the public schools are terrible, and that costs money. And so I'm saving money to send Shania to a good school. And she said, besides, the other project I've got is I would like to save enough money so that I can buy a jeepney for my husband so he can be a jeepney driver and owner rather than just a ticket seller. She's still working on this project, but hopefully she will get there someday. What they do is the women at Women's Multipurpose Co-op go around the city collecting old newspapers. They also go to the newspaper company itself and they collect the overruns. They bring those to various people's homes. They get rolled into little rods of paper, and then they get formed into these little squares, and some of the items have circles, and then basically sewn together to make these kinds of products. She also makes little model jeepneys, and that sort of reminds her of what she's saving some of her money for so that eventually she can buy a real one. It's interesting is originally the paperwork was considered to be women's work only. Men wouldn't go close to it. But when the women's husbands started to find out that they were earning income, and in many cases were earning more income than they were, they started to get involved in the project as well. And so this guy is actually Shay's father-in-law, and he rigged up an old egg beater into a contraption that makes these little medallions much quicker than you can do it by hand. So here's Shay and Shania. We asked Shay why she picked the name Shania for her daughter, and she immediately said, oh, it's that Canadian country singer. And we like her songs and we like the way she looks, and so my daughter is Shania. Not a typical Philippine name, but lots of people in the Philippines name their kids after famous people that they see on TV. So fair trade is empowering women in Pakistan and the Philippines, many other parts of the world. Young women like Nadia are hoping to get a better education, looking to a better future. Women like Shay and her daughter Shania are looking forward to a good education and a better future for their families. It makes a huge difference for people all over the place. Everything you sell in the store comes out of circumstances like this. And invariably, most of the artisans, in fact, probably 70 to 75% of the artisans are actually women. Most of them, when you talk to them, they say, number one, my income is going into my children's education. Number two, it's going to support the family in some way, food, housing, clothing, support the husband in the work that he does, but almost always, children's education is number one priority. And they see that as a way to build a better future for themselves and their families. Okay, well, thank you. Thank you. Hope you have a good day in the store today.